Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia, and with me today we have Brandon.
Hey,
And Nick is working on his beach bod. He can't make it today.
is that right? Is that right?
I mean,
Is that what he's
sure.
doing? Is that
It
what
seems
he's
to be
doing?
what he said.
What,
That was
what
my
is
takeaway.
he's beach bod in winter and fall
It's
season?
not winter yet.
Well, it's almost fall season.
Yeah.
He's gonna go to the beach during the fall?
Maybe he's going on vacation. I don't know.
Okay, that makes sense.
Good beach, New Jersey.
It actually
The
really
toxic
does.
waste probably keeps the beach warmer there. Then, you would think for New Jersey. I don't know.
We're just gonna clown on New Jersey until Nick finally comes back into the call.
It is my right as a New Yorker to clown on New Jersey. But it's
I think it's everyone's right to clown on New Jersey, not just New Yorkers.
Well, New Jersey is the armpit of America, as they say.
I mean, no, I thought that was Florida.
No, Florida's just crazy. It's the craziest. Anyways, we're here to talk about games. We're done talking about Nick's beach bod. We do have some new games to talk about this week, though.
I didn't play anything, to be honest.
Well, I got one new thing this week.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyways, you ready to get started?
Yeah, sure. I did watch something.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk about the game first.
Okay.
Sorry, sucker.
That's fine.
Actraiser Renaissance.
Yeah, I actually want to hear about this one. This one's...
It's exciting.
I wanted to buy it, and I saw it was $30, and I was like, Castlevania it is, then.
Which was only 20, which is a lot better price than I expected.
I was not expecting that. That's why I was like, yep, that's the one.
And I will say, like, part of me looked at Actraiser and I was like, well, it's Square Enix, so it'll probably be on sale soon because they usually don't wait around.
Like tomorrow.
Yeah. But I was like, I really want to support this because I'm excited that they did this, and I want them to at least know that somebody appreciates it. So,
one person.
And there's been a couple people who played it. I haven't looked at like reviews. I've just seen some like comments, and some people seem to be a bit mixed on it because they changed quite a few things. I think their changes for the better, but I guess depending on what you're looking for, your mileage may vary. So, because they added a lot. Like, this is not like before where you could get through like areas pretty quickly. Like, there's a lot of new shit now. So, because if you played Actraiser in the past, you know that it's got like the side-scrolling missions, and then it's got like the Sim City kind of like building mode, which wasn't very deep, but like it was there. Now there's like a whole nother level to it.
Okay.
So, because now it's got stuff where it's like it has like oh shit, what is it called? Like a tower defense kind of thing to it too.
Okay.
So you do this. So you still starts out with the side-scrolling stuff, and then you go into the city building stuff, and then you build your city up, and then now you can build like forts and like different like towers to help defend your temple. And then every once in a while,
just straight up tower defense now.
Yeah, and then every once in a while, monsters will come out and try to attack your temple, and you got to defend it. And then you could get like heroes in the maps to like come and help stop the hordes. So you got that layer on there too. So you can use that. So it keeps like that map building thing a bit more interesting, I guess is probably a good way to put it. And you can level up the different heroes that are in like each of the different like tower defense areas. And then there's some extra missions where you go through, and when you beat an enemy's lair, you got to go in and beat this like side-scrolling boss spawner.
Okay, so, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then there's some quests you can do too that there's nothing too crazy. Like, oh, go and collect 7 apples or something like that. Then you can get the and that's because when you're doing the town stuff,
collect 7 apples and then you're done. There you go.
I know, but depending on what you're doing with the town stuff, like depending on what features they build, depend on what resources you get. So you might get like apples or wood for your forts or things like that.
Okay.
So they had that whole like level of depth in there. There's like a lot more story in between now too, because they had all these heroes that have like personalities and backstories, and so you kind of find out why they're there. And their backstories, so it kind of fills in what happened between when the Lord of Light disappeared to now when he's trying to reclaim the lands. So you get all that on top of it. So they added a lot. It's not like they just gave you a
Okay.
fancy new graphics update and they're like, all right, you're good to go. Like they added a bunch of new stuff. I don't know what all's in it, but it seems like they added a lot more. Like I'm on the fourth or fifth
Oh, that's
map
very
and I'm
nice.
only like 10 hours in so
Okay.
far. But that's also nitpick why I've seen people complain about it because they're like, that's not exactly the same game that I played before. Well, the
All
game
right
that you
then.
played before, you could beat it in like 4 hours, you fucker.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why they did this. They added a lot more content to it and to make it a deeper and more rewarding experience for some people. I mean, if you wanted the exact same game, you're probably not going to be happy with it. For someone that's new to it that wants to see like the different like stuff that's going on, you
Uh-huh.
got that. And then they also added more stuff now too, because you get like magic powers. I don't think those were in the first game. Like I don't remember spells being in there, like in the side scrolling areas. Like you get
Um,
spells.
just, I'm not sure. I honestly don't know.
I'm like 99% sure. I didn't go
Okay.
back through and play it, but I don't remember them in there before. Because they're like you can throw fireballs and do all this other shit. Um, and then I know this part's new because you can get crystals, and the crystals like give you like power ups on the stage as you
Hmm.
collect them. And it's like once you fill up a bar a certain amount, like you get 25% more damage. Then you fill it up some more, you get 25% more magic damage. And you fill it some more, and it's like 50% for each. And if you fill it up all the way, it's 100% for both. Plus, if you die, you get instantly resurrected without losing a life. So
Okay, yeah, that doesn't sound.
that's definitely new.
That's
Yeah.
definitely new.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure the spells are new too, because I do not remember them before, and you get them as like part of like going through like
Hmm.
the missions and stuff. They'll be like, "Oh, we found this crystal, and it looks like a fireball. Maybe it does something for the Lord of Light. I don't know." So yeah, so you get those. So like, and the spells do like different damages and stuff too. And he's got like a new like backdash, which I guess is a big deal for some people. I could care less, but that is
Hmm.
a good thing that he can jump backwards now if you need to dodge, I guess. So yeah, they added quite a bit to it. The music's fantastic, and
Oh yeah, the new music.
Mhm.
It's actually good.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Like Fillmore is one of my favorite like video game songs of all time,
Hmm.
and I still think they did an awesome job with his update. So the rest of the music seems really good, and actually this gave me like a lot of good time to try it out with like Bluetooth headset. Like I finally like had an excuse to use
Oh
it
yeah,
more.
that's right.
So I've been using that. It seems to work really well. No complaints on how those work or hook up or anything with that either.
Hmm.
So it's a really good experience. The only thing I would say is like the graphics are kind of weird. They're not ugly. They're just weird. I don't know. It's like how to describe it. Did you ever play the Fire Emblem that was on like the DS, like the
Yeah, yeah,
remake with like
yeah,
Marth? And you know how I had that kind of like plasticky look?
yeah. They kind of look like action figures. That one.
Yeah, that's kind of how this looks.
Okay.
Not necessarily bad, not necessarily good. It's just kind of weird.
It looks like a Newgrounds animation, kind of
Yeah, yeah, I would say
like a
that.
flash animation. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, and but the action figure is a good way to describe it too, because it's almost like everything was put together in like a weird movement style. So, like I said, I mean, it works fine. Like, I really don't have any complaints there with how it is. Difficulty seems to be where it is. It lets you change it, so you got those things going for you. And like I said, it seems like there's a lot more content there. So, I mean, I don't really see like any like major complaints to have about it, aside from if you are a purist and you want it to be exactly the same, then that is not exactly the same. But I think the tower defense like stuff on in conjunction with like the city building, like I think it's a nice addition
Okay.
because it gives you like more to do in those sections that would otherwise just be like sitting and waiting and wondering what's going on. Because otherwise it's just like building. It was slow and I mean it wasn't slow and tedious, but it was not like fast and fun. So like it just gives it like more of a goal for what you're working towards.
Okay.
So I said I like it. I like it. I think that they added a lot more personality to this game with story stuff.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think anyone that's like on the fence for it should definitely consider it because I loved Actraiser and I love this version of it so far. And like I said, I don't really have like any major complaints about it. Like I think it's a pretty interesting upgrade to it. Like I said, I think the tower defense stuff is interesting take on it, and I think it
Hmm.
adds more depth to it. So, yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
definitely have enjoyed what I've played so far. So, and I know they added a new area to it. I don't know which one it is. Like, I don't remember that much of it to be like, oh yeah, this is definitely the new area that
Hmm.
they added to it. But I said it's also interesting too because they added all these like different characters, like these like hero characters with like these kind of interesting backstories about like why they're in these lands and like how the different people react to them. So, because they're not all like super trusting, or sometimes they're too trusting, and
Okay.
sometimes they're not enough trusting. And it's just interesting the way that all plays out. So, I mean, everything always works out because you're the Lord Light, and you're the good guy. Everyone's going to be him. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's interesting. So there's that. I don't know. I don't know if you have any questions about it. I got a
No,
couple.
it just sounds like a game.
Yeah, it is a game. It is Actraiser, and hopefully it like gives them incentive to go through and make more
Hmm.
because I like this weird genre mix up of game.
Hmm.
And like I said, I think they approached it in an interesting way. Granted, there are
Okay.
ways that they could like make it better. Because there are some weird things with like the forts and like the like horde, like the not the horde, like the tower defense stuff.
Hmm.
Because it's like you get like these little like blockades you can put down when like the hordes are coming, but they can only go on certain spots, and it's not always ideally where you would want them to go.
Hmm.
But there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to where you can put them, if that makes sense. Like it's not like it's every set amount of feet or like every intersection or something. It's just like sometimes you can put them there, sometimes you can't. I can't figure out why. I don't understand why. And it's the same thing with like the forts. Like I'm like, I don't know why this can go here and not there. Doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
There's no spot to put them there. Like those kind of things I don't really get. I don't know if it's something that they would like fix or explain better to give you reason, but I said there's just kind of like no rhyme or reason to some of it. And I got sometimes too when like the hordes are showing up during the tower defense parts. Sometimes they just show up in like weird places. And you're like, well, I didn't really know I had to defend this place because they didn't build anything there. Because usually when the hordes show up, they show up next to a road and they'll follow the road to your temple. And that's what they're trying to destroy. But sometimes they'll show up in like a grassy area with no roads, and then they'll just like walk across the grass, like directly towards like the temple, instead of like going to the nearest road and walking that way. They're like, how am I supposed to defend across this? I can't even send anyone there. So that kind of stuff's weird, but it's not like bad. I'm just kind of, it's just
Okay.
weird, if that makes sense. Like nothing that would deter me from playing the game. It was just kind of one of those, that's weird. I don't know why they did this. And my guess is it was just like, eh, we'll just go with
Okay.
it. So
No, not
yeah,
really. Actraiser
that's
just
it.
seems like
That's
it's
all I
pretty
got. I don't know.
much
I don't think I have anything
is what you
questions
get.
with an Actraiser. Yeah, it is. But it's good. It's good at what you get.
Hmm.
Hmm. Anyways, what you got?
So I actually haven't put anything down. Sorry. I'll fix that in a bit, but I had to think about it. So I played a little bit of some games. I played some of the Castlevania collection, the GBA collection that they just released. I mean, it's Castlevania on the Switch now. You can also get it on other systems, but it's great. It's a lot of fun. I really like
Plus
GBA
Dracula X for
Castlevanias.
some reason.
Yeah, that one's weird. I don't know why that was put there. I haven't actually played that one yet, but it's there.
They probably were like, people who got Smash Brothers want to play a game with Richter in it,
Oh yeah,
but we
that
can't give you the
kind of would
PlayStation
make
one.
sense.
So here's the Super Nintendo one that people don't like as much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. So I did that and then I played some of Lost Judgment, the
Hmm.
new game in the that's a spin-off of the Yakuza series.
Hmm.
And it's good. It's good so far. I really am enjoying it. Lots of fun. It's pretty much just what they're doing now with the spin-offs of Yakuza is like they're like the normal games, and whereas the other ones are going to be fully like JRPG-ified and whatnot. So the mainline games are now JRPGs, and the spin-offs like the Judgment series are now
Hmm.
the actual Yakuza games. And I had some fun playing on that one. Um, it's weird. I don't really have much to say about it because like you could play like 6 hours of that game and get nowhere because that's just how those games are. and that's basically what happened. I purchased and started playing again from the beginning, Death Stranding. So I
Mhm.
have that, the new director's cut that they released. There is something that stands out about that one, which is essentially if you turn so there are three different modes for the game, but one mode actually changes the other two modes, and that's really cool.
Mhm.
So there's Fidelity, which is a native 4K mode, and that one the frame rate's like between like 45 and 60 FPS. So like it's fluctuating constantly, that sort of deal. And then there's performance mode, which is just locked stable 60 at all times, but it's not targeting 4K. I think it's targeting like 1800p or something like that. But there's
Mhm.
another way that you can play that I think is the best way to play this game, which is widescreen mode.
Okay.
Widescreen mode makes it look like a movie, basically, with the black bars on the top and bottom,
Nice.
but it also extends out the field of view. So like it pulls those bars out for the middle part where the actual game is taking place, and you can actually see like longer distances and whatnot. And with this mode, you can turn on fidelity and widescreen mode, and then you can have a locked 4K 60 the entire game.
No, nice.
So that's probably, in my opinion, the best way to play this because the game already looks like a movie to begin with, complete with like scrolling like director's credits in the middle of you playing it. So it's like, why not just treat it like one at the end of the day? So,
Yeah.
and I really like it. It's lots of fun to play that way. It being a more stable game, I think it's going to be much more enjoyable. But those aren't the things I spent the most time with. So
Mhm.
I'm going to talk about two things now that I actually spent a lot of time with.
Okay.
One is a television series that I'll try my best not to spoil anything, and the other one is my Xbox Series S again, because something
Uh-oh.
that just recently got pushed out. So
Mhm.
I mentioned in the past where you can put your Series S into developer mode and
Yeah.
play like emulators and stuff like that very easily.
Mhm.
Well, they updated the browser,
Mhm.
so you don't even have to put it into developer mode to play emulators anymore.
Oh, okay.
You can actually, and I'm not going to tell you where to go or anything like that, but there is a such thing as emulators released in JavaScript that plays through your web browser. And you can actually just go to the sites that have emulators running in Java, and you can play them no problem through the web browser now that it's been updated. So you can
Mhm.
quite literally go to these sites, click I want to play this game, and then it'll open up a window, a Java box. It'll load the game up in the Java box. You just make it full screen, and then you can play the game in Java. So you never leave the browser. You didn't have to turn your system into an emulator. You didn't have to load any ROMs or anything. You just are playing it now because you searched it up on Google, or in this case, on Bing, and it works quite well. So that's really, really neat. I was able to play like F-Zero on the
Nice.
N64 in a Bing web browser, and that was weird to me, but it worked very, very well. And it's
Nice.
it's very odd that that's a thing that you could do. So the last thing I'll talk about, and I'll try to keep it brief because it's better to just watch this
Mhm.
instead of me telling you stuff about it.
Mhm.
Um, Squid's Game. Have you heard about
I
this?
saw the ads. Well, I didn't see ads for it. I saw a news story about it, and
Um,
it sounded really interesting. I'm like, I would like this show.
it's fucking phenomenal. It is so incredibly good. I'm 7 episodes into it, and it's just fantastic. Every single thing about it is great. There's been many times where I was like, all right, I know what's going to happen here, and then the show's like, you know what you thought was going to happen? Yeah, I decided that instead of going left or right, I went sideways, and I'm just like,
Ooh,
oh, okay, all right, okay, cool. And the writing is so incredibly well done. The actual characters are very good, even like all the bad guy characters are like very interesting because of their backstories, and it just it's a great, great show. You
nice.
said you like saw the premise of it or something. I don't know what it tells you the premise of it is, but would you be willing to
Basically,
tell
it's
me what it
like
said?
it was basically, how did they describe it? They were like, it's like battle royale if it was based, if it was a children's, or if it was like how do I put it, like a reality show, except
Yeah,
people live
that's
or die based
the
on how they run games.
easiest way to describe it. There's
Mhm.
so much more to it that like that really doesn't do it justice. That's like the very basic level of understanding for the show. Um, a lot more of it has to do with how people would deal with things if put into these sort of situations.
Mhm.
It's got a lot of things to do with like the first few seasons of uh like Walking Dead, where it was more like, the people are the bad guys, but
Yeah.
are they really? But then there's just so many twists and turns that it's like I don't even know where it's going now at this point. I legitimately have no idea. So, and it did quite a few things in the show itself. I'm not going to tell you what they were, but essentially, it did things where I was like, okay, well, this is what they're going to do. I know this is what's going to happen. There's no way this is going to happen. They're just trying to hype up this sort of like thing where like, oh, we understand this is how these characters are decided on already, and they're gonna do this and that and the other, and then like that didn't happen. And then like I was like, wait a minute. Um, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm now following the quote unquote bad guy, and I'm like watching their story and learning stuff about them, the person that's hosting this like death game, and it's like, what is going on here? Do anybody in this like place understand what's going on? And it's definitely like a case where it's like you're not really sure who you should be like, that's the villain of the show, or like that's the main big bad person. It's very interesting because it clearly sets up somebody, and then you're just like, wait a minute, hold on, wait. And to say anything else would be like to spoil stuff, but it's never really tells you what you're watching until it decides that it wants to, more or less.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's very well written because
Mm.
some of the things that happen, uh, like one thing that happens very early on is they give everyone the choice of, do you just want to quit playing and go home? So you're sitting here and you're like, all right, the people have now seen all the money drop from the ceiling. They know how much money they stand to make if they continue playing. So
Mhm.
obviously the human greed's going to have them continue playing the game.
Mhm.
No, they quit playing and go home. They just go back. They go back to their normal lives.
Oh, okay.
They just let them leave. They
Mhm.
just they just let them leave. And then like that's in like episode 2. So like after that you're like, what the fuck is going on now? And then that's really the kind of stuff in the show itself that made me continuously be like, this is fucking genius. Because you wouldn't expect them to drag someone out, have them see a bunch of people get murdered in front of them, and then be like, yo, if you don't want to play anymore, you can just go home. And then
Uh,
actually allow them to. And it just, the twists and turns that happen from weird things like that and the writing in it is what makes it such a well done show and so very much worth watching.
it does sound interesting. I'll have to watch it because, like I said, it does sound like something that I would enjoy.
Hmm.
So, I enjoyed the premise idea that I read, but
Hmm.
I'm not surprised it's deeper than that. Like,
Oh, it's
obviously, if
it's
that was
way deeper.
all that it was, I was like, that probably wouldn't be too much. And it's Korean. Like, Korean shows usually have a lot more like going on there,
Oh yeah.
um, characterization wise.
Their
So,
characters are like some of the best I've seen in a very, very long time.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm interested. I definitely will check it out at some point.
Hmm.
Is it all like subtitles?
You can watch it in English if you want. I watched it subtitled because I just thought it added to it
Yeah.
because a lot of the games, the children's games, some of
Hmm.
them are very much like seeped in like Korean lore. Like the main game, child's game called Squid's Game, which is an actual like Korean children's game that they would play on the playground and everything. I think having it in Korean and watching it with subtitles like adds more to it because of that sort of dealing. And because of people having conversations like talking about a North Korean defecting to South Korea and why are you here? What, that sort of thing. I don't think it would have as much impact if they were speaking English while saying that they're a North Korean and they defected to South Korea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like it. Plus, some of the other characters in the show actually speak English, so when that comes across, I think the language barrier makes it more interesting to watch it with the Korean dialogue and English subtitles, because then you have the people that are their respective language and they'll speak that language even in like the Korean version. So like if someone's speaking English, they will say English and then you'll have the Korean subtitle below instead. And
Oh, okay.
it's a very it gives it a lot more I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Like it feels like it's made to be watched that way, in my opinion.
I did think it was funny. The one article I was reading about it, they're like at some games, and I don't remember what they called it. It was like grandma's something other, and they're like, and the TV show calls it red light, green light, and I'm like, I don't know what
Yes.
game this is, but I'm like, I know a game from when I was a kid that was called red light, green light, and I'm like, I wonder if that's the
Yes.
game that they were talking about,
Uh-huh.
because I'm like, I've never heard of this grandma's whatever shit.
Uh-huh. So they'll still say the like red light, green light thing with the English subtitles and that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
But like
Well, I
they
think
will
the whoever was writing it
Mhm.
didn't call the game red light, green light. I think that's they're saying the show called it.
Mhm.
But I was like, but the writer was like, the game that's known in English as Grandma's something or other, and I'm like, I don't know
No,
this
no,
game.
it's definitely red light, green light. The
Okay,
first game they play is 100% red light, green light.
all right. So this person probably just lived in some weird area where they call it something else,
Yes,
and just thought the TV
definitely.
show called it something different. Okay.
Definitely. Yes.
hmm
Because
Okay.
like that game is played with a motion sensor that it's like red light, green light, and then like it like turns its head around when it's like stop, basically. And when the head turns around, then the motion sensor sees anyone that makes a movement, and then windows open up around them, and snipers take shots at the people that made a movement, and they just get fucking gunned down. While everyone else has to like deal with people being gunned down around them, and they're like, I can't move, or else now I'm gonna get shot. And yeah, and then like they come up with really interesting ways to avoid a motion sensor because it's not a real person, it's a motion sensor. So then some people like come up with theories and try to like beat the game by beating the like rules of the game. And that's what those little moments are really interesting.
Okay. Yeah, it does sound interesting.
So yeah, I've watched 7 episodes of that, and each episode's an hour long, so that's 7 hours of my life that was spent on that instead of games this week.
How many episodes are there?
9. I
Okay,
have
so
three
you're almost at
left.
the end. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I have two
Oh,
left.
two.
So yeah.
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 Math.
I couldn't remember if I finished 7 or if I stopped
Oh,
on
if you were about
7.
to
So
start
I'm
seven.
like,
Okay, I know
yeah,
what
so
you
I'm
mean.
sitting here and I'm like, I think I have 2, but I might have 3. So
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because sometimes Netflix will just sit on like the last show you watch, and you're like, did I
yes,
watch that,
exactly.
or do I
That
need to
is
watch it?
the exact thing I'm at right now. So I'm not 100% sure. So I either have
Yeah.
2 or 3 episodes left.
Okay. Nice.
But it's also very sad. Like it's incredibly well written to the point where it made me very, very sad in one of the episodes. So yeah.
Mhm. What else?
I mean, honestly, that's really all I've done. I did set up a new TV that we ended up purchasing because people got us some stuff off our registry and some people just got us gift cards or whatever or gave
Nice.
us money. And we got a Android TV. I know you are a Apple person, but having Android phones, the Android TV just made it much more convenient. I would like to
Mhm.
talk about that for a second if you
That's fine.
yeah, okay, so Katie has an Android phone, and on that phone we're like logged into Netflix and Hulu and this, that, and the other and everything. And basically the TV was like, "Hey, is your phone still on the same network as I am? Cool. Go to this site and input this code." And like the second I did that, everything was transferred over to our phone from onto the
To the
TV from
TV.
the phone. Yeah, yeah. So it's like, okay, well now we don't even have to log into Netflix or any of these other apps. We're just automatically queued together into it because the
Mhm.
phone was able sync up with the TV. It's like, oh yeah, that's very convenient. And then we're also able to like play games through the phone on the TV as well.
That's
And you
pretty
can like
nice.
stream stuff off the phone onto the TV, through like Chromecasts and that sort of thing. And yeah, it just in general, it's very, very convenient, and it's got like a central hub online area, like when you first turn it on, and the hub is like these are like the most recent things you've watched on like Netflix. Like for instance, if I turn on the TV, it's like this is where you left off on Squid Game. Press this button and start the next episode immediately. I don't have to turn on the Netflix app. I don't have to do any of that stuff. It's just right there because it knows the last thing I did. So it's just like, here you go. And yeah, that's super cool. It's very convenient. We got the TV for a fucking steal as well. It was like
Nice.
with a sound bar and the TV itself, it was like $402.
Well, that's
So
not bad at all.
yeah, it's good.
My only
It's good.
complaint with the built-in TV stuff, and I think we've
Hmm.
talked about it before, because I feel like you just had a TV that had this. It's just for some reason, like they stopped updating it, like the firmware, like so fast. It's just like,
Yes, yeah, but with it being like Android and that sort of thing, at least with this one, I did some research and essentially as long as, it's still in the same ecosystem, which is Android, it'll still be getting updates. So,
hopefully.
so
Because that sucks.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not like it's the end of the world when it doesn't. Like the TV I have right now, it was a hand-me-down for my dad, and it has
Hmm.
like all those apps, but I just don't use them because I just have like so many other things hooked up to it.
Hmm.
It's just easier. It's easier to not use the built-in stuff
Hmm.
than it is to try to use the built-in stuff. That's
Yeah, I think it's just way easier here because it will like
yeah,
if
because right
I have
now
like
it's working the way it should.
I have an
So
old Android phone in general, sitting next to me. I think it's like
mm.
an 11 and we're on like 21 or some shit right now. And with that, I mean I could still download new apps. I could still do this, that, and the other as long as I have the Android OS running on it. And they're not going to
Okay.
drop me from the Android OS. I'll just have like a lower end version of Android OS. So it's
Mhm.
not going to run as fast, but it's still going to run, which is more than I can say for some old iPhone stuff.
Oh, I know. Well, like some of those TV, like it got to a point with some of the TV apps where it's
Hmm.
just like DJ's TV, his other TV, like it has like the apps built in, and if you even go to open them, it just crashes. And it's just like this isn't even useful anymore.
Well, this isn't
Like,
running off. So, like, think of like a Raspberry Pi. That's what
yeah.
this TV
Mhm.
has built into it, basically. Instead of having like it go through the TV, it's just going through Android. So as long as Android still exists, this TV still exists. So somehow magically Android stops existing. Like if Apple finally finds the cure all to defeating Android once and for all, yeah, then the TV won't work anymore. But that's not gonna happen.
I mean, theoretically, even then, it still should. The problem usually is it's not
Hmm.
even like Android or Apple for most of
Hmm.
it's like it's the app developers. And like whether
Yeah.
or not they decide, because it's like even like I went to go boot up the YouTube app on the 3DS for some
Hmm.
reason a couple weeks ago, and it's just like YouTube is no longer supported on this device, and it's just
Hmm.
like I think the same thing with Netflix, and it's not like those things have necessarily changed. It's like
Yeah.
we just don't allow access to it anymore through this version of the app for whatever
Hmm.
reason, and just like whatever, like I don't care. It's not like I was going to use it for anything serious anyways.
Hmm.
I think the 3DS. Wanted to go to YouTube just to see, because you
How it
used to be able to
worked.
watch like 3D videos on there, you know.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I don't know. I was like, I wonder if YouTube even still does this anymore. But I guess we'll never know. So
But didn't like I was gonna say, didn't like 3DS drop that feature later on because of the fact that it was easily exploitable and that's how several people hacked the 3DS?
I don't even know. You can
Because
hack the
yeah,
3DS just by looking at it sideways these days.
you
So
really can.
they gave up. They don't care anymore. So yeah.
But yeah, I got that. I got some LED strips put on the back of the TV. We cleaned out one of our storage rooms.
Oh, is it like the
Here.
ones that like sync up with what you're watching?
No, these are just very basic ones, so I have a remote for them and I can have what color I want, that sort of deal.
That's still
Um,
fun.
Yeah, and it's just so we can have lights in that room. That room has no lights. We had a chandelier, but the chandelier stopped working.
Oh,
Uh, when we turned it into a storage room, stuff
like
got
Phantom of the
obviously.
Opera.
Yeah, that's what
You never saw Phantom of the Opera
I
before?
did, but I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh, because like halfway through Phantom of the Opera, he drops the chandelier onto the stage.
Oh, no, I think it's just because it hasn't been used in so long and like the bulbs in it are completely blown out and
Oh.
that sort of deal. But they're like specialty, so it's like you really don't want to rebuy those bulbs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have a
They're a
couple
pain in
light
the ass.
chandelier lights that are like that now because you can't get like LED lights for it. So you have to get the other lights.
Oh, so you
Maybe
wanna
they
you
do
wanna know
make
something
LED lights, but they're huge. I don't
you
know.
wanna know something funny? You remember the conversation we had last week with Nick and everything about Metroid?
Which
And
conversation?
the one about Metroid where he told me just put it on your registry and I'll buy
Oh
that
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
something else and everything. Well, he wasn't able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I put it on my registry, I also put Katie on a big box of Pokemon cards to make it fair. So
Mm-hmm.
even though Nick wasn't able to buy Metroid for me, someone bought Katie the Pokemon cards.
Hey, not too shabby.
So she got a huge box of Shining Fates, like 80 plus cards,
Uh-huh.
booster packs, and like those big $40 to $50 boxes. She got one
Yeah,
of those from our
nice.
registry.
Did
It was
you
just
guys
so
open them
funny to
all
me.
up already?
We opened them today, right before I got on the podcast, actually.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that was fun.
That's pretty
We got a
awesome.
few really good things.
Mm-hmm.
Um I gotta check prices and like we're not gonna sell them obviously, but I do always like looking at the prices and being like, oh wow, this is actually worth that much. That's neat. Because like one
Yeah,
of the first Pokemon card booster packs we opened up after getting back into them, like the first three cards were worth like $40 each.
that's pretty nice. You made your money back right there if you really wanted to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we've almost got everything delivered to the house too at this point.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Oh, with the way mail is, who knows these
Yeah, I
days?
don't. Let's see. Spoons, I got that. I got that. Got the bath mats. Have not got these. When does it say this will arrive? October 13th. All right. Cool.
Got a while for that
Got
one.
that. Got that. Got that. That. I think we got the desk in. I actually have no idea right now.
Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, we got that. Yeah. Got that. Got that. Got that. Got that. Got that. Yeah, I think we've got everything except the desk and 100 soft sleeves of card protectors.
Okay. Well, you're gonna need them now.
Hmm?
Said you're gonna need them now.
Yeah, I mean that box also came with 65, but they gave us 80 cards in the booster packs, so it's like,
Mhm.
okay, so we have 65, so choose the ones we want to sleeve, more or less.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been. I really haven't done much else gaming wise.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's not really news, but we can talk about.
I actually have some news because I was looking over the Tokyo Game Show stuff.
Okay. Well, let's do that first because mine's mostly rumors.
Okay, yeah, mine's facts. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, which is the new expansion from Monster Hunter Rise, will be coming out.
The massive expansion.
Yeah, apparently it's supposed to be really big. It'll be coming out in summer of 2022.
Mhm.
But at the beginning of next year, Monster Hunter Rise is coming to Steam. So there'll be a PC version of the Monster Hunter Rise game that released on Switch.
Oh, nice.
It will include 4K resolution, high-res textures, uncapped frame rates, use of keyboard and mouse controls, voice chat, and ultra-wide support. So a whole bunch of stuff. And they
Hmm.
also announced alongside a Sonic and Ghost and Goblins collaboration for Monster Hunter Rise.
Random.
Yeah, kind of.
It's like Sonic, a new like dog that you can have.
I have no idea. Maybe outfits? Like
You can wear
sometimes they
Sonic
do.
skin. Yes, perfect.
I you know what? You're joking, but
I
I
know.
think you might be right. So let's go check. Oh, we haven't got any info other than in November there'll be a Sonic collab.
Okay.
So
So
that's
it's
it.
coming to the Switch version too, then.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The PC version doesn't release till next year.
Okay.
This this collab releases in October.
Nice.
And then the Sonic one is in November. Xbox announced today that they are bringing the game streaming with Game Pass to, I think, 20 more countries, including Japan. So Japan will be having game streaming with Game Pass, like via phones and that sort of thing, starting tomorrow.
Oh, it's very soon.
They then announced that the Evil Within 2 director is leading a new Tango Gameworks game, I think is what this says. Yeah. So they're working on a new game for Microsoft. Oh, Tango Gameworks is the people that are making Ghostwire Tokyo. They have another game already that's in the works.
Okay.
They then added Scarlet Nexus, Unsighted, Astria Ascending, AI, the Saltium Files, Mighty Goose, and Marvel's Avengers all to Game Pass today.
Nice. Lots of games.
Mm-hmm. Sweary, a friend of mine who who made Deadly Premonition 1 and 2 and is creating The Good Life, announced a Xbox exclusive demo releasing today. So you can get a Xbox exclusive demo for The Good Life right now.
What's a good life?
So The Good Life is a really weird new game that Swery's making that
Uh-huh.
is like partially Animal Crossing, partially detective story, partially a supernatural thriller. And it was kickstarted last year, I believe it was. But then Microsoft was just like, "Hey, you want to be on Game Pass? We'll give you the rest of the money to make this like better." And he was like, "Absolutely." So apparently you're in a town where at night everyone turns into animals and you're trying to figure out what cursed the town
Oh
to
yeah,
have
yeah,
that
yeah.
happen to it and
I
everything.
remember this
Yeah.
trailer now.
Yeah, this game releases on October 15th and the demo releases today. And the reason why I mentioned Animal Crossing is because you're trying to repay your debt and it's also an RPG. So you're trying to do all these things at once. Apparently Steam Next Game Festival will start tomorrow and the demo will also be able to be played on PC tomorrow as well. So that's a
Okay.
thing.
hmm
I've actually been really looking forward to that game. I'm very happy about that. Other than that, I don't think there's much more gaming news per se. No, I don't think there's anything else. Oh wait, PlayStation has officially announced that they acquired Bluepoint. I
Oh,
believe they
okay.
announced that today. So the
I
creators
thought
of the
they, I thought they picked them up a while ago.
it was rumored that they
hmm
did. They never officially said it on the day when they announced the other company that they acquired that day. So
Oh,
that rumor just stayed a rumor because they didn't want to overshadow their other acquisition that day by being like, "Oh yeah, we bought both of these people."
yeah.
So,
I think it was like everyone was like they bought Blue Point, but then Sony just never said anything or something like that.
yep.
Yeah,
So today they made it official that they have purchased Bluepoint, and the next game with Bluepoint will be a new IP and not a remake.
weird, random because that's all Blue Point's like does.
Yep.
But
So I
okay.
have no idea what's happening there. But yeah. So that was announced today.
Well, I guess I didn't realize it until today, but I guess Blue Point's a lot of like ex retro people. I didn't
I
realize.
think so.
Yeah, no, that's what I was reading. Because
Okay.
actually, that surprisingly it ties in one of the rumors that I was going to talk about in this section. So, because it has to do with Metroid Prime trilogy that's been rumored to be floating around for a while.
hmm
Like you know, like the rumor, like Metroid Prime trilogy is coming to the Switch, blah blah
hmm
blah. It's done. Nintendo's just sitting on it, waiting for it. Yada yada yada. We've been hearing it for the last 2 years.
hmm
Well, so like last week before the direct, Emily Rogers. I don't know if you know who she is.
Vaguely.
She's like one of those. I don't remember where she worked at, like Destructoid
hmm
and
One of
somewhere
those
else.
places.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
Yeah,
gotcha.
but she was like, "Hey, it's very possible to see a remake of Metroid Prime trilogy, or not Metroid Prime trilogy, Metroid Prime One." At
Weird.
this, yeah, just very specifically that, and she before was one of the people who was like Metroid Prime trilogy, like she was one of the people who was squawking about that, and then it turned
Why
out
does
to
it
be
feel
Metroid
like that
Prime
doesn't
One.
actually exist and they're just like, yeah, maybe.
So this has to do with like the whole rumor thing.
Uh-huh.
So apparently, so she said that, and then I guess someone just kind of had like a meltdown on that one gaming forum today,
Ah,
and
yes, that one. Got it.
and they were just like, well, since Emily blew the beans, they're like, I'm just gonna say this. Don't ask for my sources. I just, I'm just gonna say this because it's been bugging me for a while, and basically was like, look. So everyone's been talking about this Metroid Prime trilogy for a while, being like, "Oh, it's finished, it's sitting on it." Like that's not true. Like, so what was true is Retro was working on redoing the trilogy, and then
Hmm.
they were gonna just basically make they were just gonna go through the games. They weren't gonna change anything, just update the graphics, very much like Blue Point, and they kind of made a point to be like, yeah, Blue Point was made by ex Retro people, and they're also in Austin, blah blah blah. That's how that kind of tangentially like came up.
Hmm.
But then they were like, so they were, they had the art staff working on this, but then Retro started working on Metroid Prime 4, so they needed the art staff to do other stuff all of a sudden. So this project slowed down quite significantly because they had much less staff working on it. So they're like, they just finished Metroid Prime 1, and they were going to use that as kind of like a example for whoever's going to finish the rest of the trilogy
Hmm.
to work from this as like a template. Like this is what we want the game to look like. Make the rest of the games like this. And this person's like, don't know if Nintendo's planning on releasing these separate at this point, basically, because they might do that, or they might just wait till they're all finished and release them as a trilogy. But
Hmm.
just really wanted, like, the point of the thing was just like, I'm sick of people say that Nintendo's sitting on the trilogy and it's done. It's not. They only just finished the first game, so y'all need to calm the fuck down. So, and I was like, there's no reason to not believe this, as random as it says. Even the people on that gaming forum, some of them were like, "Oh, did you get verified by the mods? Who cares?"
Yeah,
Like,
that is stupid.
yeah, it's mind your business. And this rumor
I'm
could
I'm
very well
very
be
happy
false,
that you're
but
just calling them that gaming form. That makes
I
me
don't want to
very
name
happy.
them. I
I'm
don't
no,
want
I'm
to
I'm
go.
actually very happy that you're doing that.
Yeah. Uh, so it's but because it's such a toxic thing, and just like even the way that people were talking to this person.
No, they're just so rude there. They just
Yeah,
don't give a fuck. They have to have everything their way or else fuck you. And they're just
yeah.
absolute pieces of shit. And that's
And they're
why
like,
I'm so happy you're not actually naming the place.
but Imran said that it's all finished, and he's like, it's not. And it's like, if anyone even put a little effort into looking, they would see it. And there's a reason why, like, the rumors are starting to change now because they're different. So, so yeah, that's the story behind the Metroid Prime trilogy,
Hmm.
supposedly. And I mean, like I said, I honestly don't see any reason to not believe it. It also would not surprise me Nintendo just decides to release them piece by piece
Yeah.
instead, and just be like, trickle them out gradually over time instead of like going all in on them. So,
Holy shit.
what?
I've got news after this. Just let me know when you're done.
Okay, well, I got a couple more rumors.
Oh, sounds
Uh,
good.
Other one, they're all Nintendo related, so they'll just
Hmm.
like go right into each other. But the other one is like about the Bloomberg Nintendo 4K thing.
Mm,
Did you see this stuff?
I heard about it.
So supposedly, like Bloomberg broke another story. They're like, yeah, Nintendo's the 4K system. They're like, there are 11 studios that have 4K development kits right now working on Nintendo Switch games in 4K, and it's like Nintendo got bent out of shape, and they're like, there are some inaccuracies in Bloomberg's reporting. We are not working on this. Blah blah blah
Hmm.
blah blah. So I don't know. I really don't know what to take of it. Like depending on how you want to word Nintendo's wording, like it could mean
Hmm.
so many different things. Like, yeah, they might not be working on a 4K Switch, but maybe the next gen system is a 4K system. So who knows what they're doing with that? I mean, if developers actually do have these development kits, it's not like, well, it could go two ways. A, it doesn't necessarily mean that Nintendo's doing anything with it. It just means that they have it as a potential feature that they may or may not use so at
Hmm.
some point. But also B, it's not like the developers could come out and say anything. Like Zynga commented, they're like, we do not have these development kits. But at the same time, they're also would be under NDA, so they couldn't say if they did or did not anyways. So I don't know. It could go either way. But I was surprised that Nintendo was so defensive about it.
Probably
Uh,
because they just don't want anyone to talk about it.
yeah, especially when the OLED system is coming out in one
Hmm.
week. So There's that. And also, interestingly, Nintendo had a patent revealed today that said that they were. Let me just read it to you fast. Uh, they have. Oh, Nintendo files a patent for quick resume, but that's not the one. Nintendo image upscaling patents were published, and
Mm-hmm.
apparently it just seems to be in line with DLSS.
Oh, okay.
So, whether or not they are building off of NVIDIA's technology or they were working on something and are using NVIDIA's technology, like, you know what they say, like smoke follows the flame. Like, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
something's going on there. And it is kind of funny that the day after, like, we're not doing this, then a patent comes out for it. So, yeah, there's that. And then the last rumor I saw was about rare games. And this is just common sense, I feel like, but supposedly the N64 stuff is not just Banjo Kazooie. So I think the rumor I saw was it was Banjo Kazooie, Banjo Tooie, maybe Perfect Dark, I think was on there.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like not sure because they're making another one, but at the same time, like I almost feel like that would be good advertising for them with the new Perfect Dark game coming out. So I could see that in there. But there was one more. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't like what I wanted it to be though. So I don't
Okay.
remember. Like it wasn't like Diddy Kong Racing, which I feel like would be like one that you would want out of this. Because it's one that neither of them can publish, but you would think that they would want like each of them would want it somehow because obviously like Microsoft can't publish it on Xbox because they can't use Diddy Kong, but then Nintendo can't publish it on their systems because they can't use like all the other rare characters. So if they want it to come out again in some way, shape, or form, someone's got to concede somewhere.
Mm.
So I feel like that, they're already doing the Nintendo 64 stuff, but that just seems like a nice way to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but we'll see. But I mean, I'm not really surprised that there would be more N64 stuff from Rare. Like that
Yeah.
just seems kind
That
of like
makes sense. Yeah.
obvious. hmm And then did you see that in Japan they're getting the 6-button uh, Sega controller
I did
for
not see
Switch?
that.
Yeah, the US is getting the 3-button one, but Japan's getting the 6-button one.
That's cool.
And people are bent out of shape.
Hmm.
Is there like a big difference
Sort of.
aside from 3 extra buttons?
I believe in some fighting games and some games, it's actually important to have all 6 buttons.
hmm
So,
Yeah, I heard it was mostly for fighting games.
hmm
But as you know, it's not something I play too much of, so that would explain why I
that's
would
true.
not. Yeah. So, and that is all the rumors I have
All
for you.
right. So, you ready?
Yeah.
PlayStation 5 has received its first 8K 60 FPS game.
Bullshit.
Nope. 100% true. It cannot be outputted to 8K via HDMI 2.1
Uh
on an 8K display. However, via the anti-aliasing sample, they have done a pixel count of the actual game itself,
huh. Uh
and the
huh.
game is 8K being downscaled to 4K resolution. So once, and this is said by the developer themselves as well, with proof, and it has been checked by Digital Foundry, and it is 100% true. Once PlayStation actually enables people to output in 8K, because you can't on the PlayStation 5 yet, even though it says it on the box, the game can be played natively at 8K with 60 FPS. Granted, this is the simple voxel game called The Tourist, which I think we've talked about before on here. I don't know if we have talked about it. It's a very good game. It's very pretty. It has actually really good graphics, but it is voxel style. So it is like blocky and that sort of deal. But it's done that way, but by design. But it is the first game that can natively output to 8K 60 FPS.
Okay. I mean, I trust Digital Foundry.
Yeah, they did a check. It checks out. The whole thing is legitimate. I put a video in case you wanted to see it.
Okay.
But yeah, um, essentially right now is it's being downsampled from 8K to 4K if you play it on
Uh-huh.
PlayStation 5. But when PlayStation 5's firmware enables 8K, if you had an 8K TV and plugged this into it, it would run natively at 8K 60 FPS.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean it's not the craziest looking game.
No, it's not, but the actual aesthetic and the art design of this game works very well and makes it look very pretty,
Oh
even
yeah,
with it
no, I
not
don't
having a
disagree.
lot going on.
Hmm.
So, it is a good game to first show off 8K as a possibility. And I think if more indie titles such as this could run at 8K, that would be kind of neat, you know?
I guess.
Because there are some incredible indie games.
Hmm.
Like, could you, I mean, I know it's not indie per se, but could you think of something like Ori and the Will of the Wisp or those kind of games running at 8K? That would be fucking incredible.
Ain't nobody got an 8K TV, Brandon.
No, you're correct. But see, even without having the 8K TV, this is being downsampled to from 8K to 4K. So it still is sharper than a natural 4K game if you play it on a normal 4K TV right now.
Hmm. That's true. I mean, it looks nice. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So, and it's nice that they're actually like taking the time to make it work, because that's usually with these kind of things, just the developers are lazy.
Hmm.
Uh, but it's nice. It's got, well, I think it's just kind of the game aesthetic. It might just
Oh,
be, I would say, it's got really short draw distances.
yeah, it's probably the aesthetic because it's made to look like a diorama,
Hmm.
like a shoebox diorama. Like each area you're in is made to look that way, and it's just a choice that the developer went with. This was originally a Switch game, also.
Hmm.
And it's also a Xbox One, like the original Xbox
I
One
believe so, yeah. Hmm.
game. So, yeah,
But that's probably also the reason why they're able to get it up that much.
that's true. But I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, the actual art design and the actual like aesthetic of the game itself goes a long way to
Yeah, no, it
making
looks like it
something look
works well.
better than it actually is graphically.
Yeah,
So, I still think this looks like it worked very, very well as an 8K game. It's pretty neat.
yeah. Look, it looks good so far.
Yeah, I
So,
really need to play this game. Like I've played a little bit of it in the past,
hmm,
but yeah, this was a very good game. So if you've never played this game, you should probably just check it out just for the game itself.
I'll add it to my list of things to. What kind of game is it?
So it's an exploration and like puzzle solving game.
Hmm.
Um, and like pretty much the entire game is all about trying to solve this mystery of this island, and you're like able to go all around the vistas to different places and try to solve different puzzles and find
Oh, so
out.
it's like The Witness.
Yeah, sort of, but like top down and
Hmm.
third person, and like you're like a tourist on the island. So like it's a normal tourism island, but it's like hiding a secret. So you
Uh-huh.
see all the like tropical things like you would, like all the beaches, all the like you'll actually have people in the world itself. It's not just an abandoned island. And yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that sounds like it. That's pretty cool. I don't know what else
Yeah,
to say
that's
about
that's that's it. That's all I have to
it.
say about it is it's neat. It's cool that they were able to do it.
Yeah, I guess good for them for going out there and like, because I wouldn't be surprised if there were other developers that could say it.
Hmm.
But good on them for getting out there and like raising awareness that it's
Hmm.
possible. And if anything, it's going to tip Sony's hand to doing something sooner than later.
Looking at this, right? Looking at this, I would have expected the first 8K game to have less going on in it than this. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Uh-huh.
do like one of those stick people game, or maybe like Tetris, or something like that, something much more simple. Here there's still a lot going on, so it does prove that more busy or interesting games can hit that 8K 60. So I think that's one of the big takeaways to like
Yeah.
come from this. Because like if it's like a visual novel or something, it's like, yeah, of course that can hit fucking 8K, But with it
Yeah.
actually being like an exploration game and an open world exploration game, with like all these different vistas that you can visit, that's pretty cool. I think
Yeah.
that's a really interesting thing. Like you could see things like Hollow Knight hitting it, or like I said, all Ori and the Will of the Wisp, or just any of those kind of games.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
interesting idea, and I hope in the future we see where it goes. Like I don't plan on having an 8K TV anytime in the future, but I mean having a sharper picture from downscaled is always a good thing because
Not a
sharpness
bad
is
thing at
very
all.
important.
I agree.
So, we actually have more people for, let's see, for Tokyo Game Show in the next few days.
Yeah.
So, like, tomorrow is actually Square Enix.
Oh
So
yeah,
they
I did
might
know
get
they had
some
a
good stuff
presentation.
then.
hmm
And
October's
then,
a busy month. There's lots of stuff, lots of
yeah.
announcements. Because you also have next week you got Smash, um, Animal Crossing sometime this month, and there's one more
hmm
that I can't think of off the top of my head. That are all like known entities of like
There's
announcements.
actually a lot of untitled games that will be revealed in the next 3 days through
hmm
Tokyo Game Show. So,
Okay,
and it's all being done online. So if you want to watch it, there you go.
check it out. What else? What else you got?
I got nothing else. I got nothing else.
All right, let's wrap her up then.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us tonight. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to reach out to us, we're on Facebook, Twitter. You can send us email, gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Brandon,
Nothing. I got
nothing?
nothing. I got
All right.
nothing.
Well, then. My name is Mike Anastasia. You can find me online. I'm Clash of Penguin on Twitter or your favorite gaming console. Until next week, game on.
Game on.
I'm looking for news right now, but I don't think there's really much news.
Uh, God of War won Best Game Ever Created.
From who?
IGN's poll that it polled 26 million people.
The first God of War?
No.
Oh, PS4.
PS4 2018 God of War won Best Game Ever Created.
Say if it was PS, like if it was the PS, like the first one, the PS2 one, something's wrong.
No, I would have given it to God of War 3 personally, but
No,
or even God of War 2.
I never
But
trust the ones where they're like, "Hey, this game that came out within the last 2 years is the best game
oh,
of all time."
that's actually pretty much all the final picks for Best Game Ever Created are games that came out within like the last 2 to 5 years.
I say I know Breath of the Wild's probably on there. I don't even have to look at the list,
Yes.
and it's probably like in the top 10.
It was definitely in the top 10. Yes. I think it was number 4.
Yeah. Like I say, those lists are
Oh,
always skewed towards whatever.
no. You have to okay. So I know we're gonna have to fill out since we don't have Nick, but you have to look at the bracket for this and just see how bad the bracket is. It's so funny.
Like the top part, you're saying?
Like what they had go up against each other is ridiculous, and what they had lose in the first round is also insane. I'll give you an example.
Oh, I see the brackets right here.
I'll give you a quick example. Ocarina of Time, Super Metroid, and Half-Life 2 lost in the first round.
How did they like just pair these up?
It had to be random. There's no other way. And like I was talking with my other friends, I was like, this is why fetuses shouldn't be allowed to vote on things. Because there's no way anyone over the age of 15 voted on this poll. You
That's
have to
probably
look
true.
at some of the actual winners. It is insane. Batman Arkham City like swept and only got beaten out by GTA 5. Batman Arkham City beat Pokemon Yellow, Dark Souls, Super Mario 64, Shadow of the Colossus, Half-Life 2. Like it's ridiculous. And then I think one of my favorite ones here is Apex Legends versus Titanfall 2. And like the meme I saw was like they're the same game.
I mean, really, I can't remember.
So yeah.
Like Super Metroid lost to Apex. Which lost
Yes.
to Titanfall 2.
Yes.
Some of these pairings aren't horrible, but then some of
Dude,
them are just like,
Bloodborne versus Tetris. That's just stupid.
Well, the fact that Batman lost against Mario 64 or the fact that
One.
Batman beat Mario 64 and then Pokemon Yellow is
Yes.
pretty crazy on its own.
Yes.
And then it also beat Dark Souls. Which,
Yes.
yeah, no, I see what you're saying there. I'm surprised that it lost to Grand Theft Auto. But I mean, there is a reason they've republished that game like 70,000 times.
Yeah. I just want you to look over on the left side and see where Chrono Trigger lost to Burnout 3.
I must have missed that one because I looked a minute.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger, number 3, underneath Fortnite, lost to Burnout 3.
The last was one beat Smash Bros.
Last of Us what now?
The first Last of Us beat Smash Bros.
Yes.
I'm even kind of surprised by that. That's kind of funny that Chrono Trigger lost to Burnout. I just don't
Right?
understand this. Yeah.
These are awful. Like I said, the only way these were the actual, like, results is if fetuses voted on this.
I mean, that has to be what it was because I don't understand it. It just makes no sense.
Snake Eater lost to Last of Us with only 26% of the votes. That's insane to me. Like, I get it. Last of Us is a good game, but it's very relevancy bias right there because of Last of Us taking it by 74 fucking percent. That's insane.
Yeah, I was using a zoomed out picture. I couldn't see what those numbers were, but that is pretty nuts.
Right?
Like a lot of these are pretty like wild.
Super Mario World lost in the first running against Smash Brothers Ultimate. Like, come on. That's not even the best Smash Brothers.
Like Arkham City beat Pokemon Yellow by 67% to 33%.
Right? It's awful. This is like the worst ranking system for best video game of all time that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could slot this somewhere in the podcast because I felt like
I'll just probably put this discussion that we just had, just put it somewhere.
Because yeah, this is just insane. And the last two were God of War versus GTA 5, which is hilarious to me. And God of War won, and most of the people that were commenting on it were just like, "Yeah, I voted for God of War because I don't want Grand Theft Auto to win." It's like, well,
I can get behind that.
I can get behind that too, but like then it feels like, okay, well then it's just not a legitimate voting, you know?
Well, I mean, if you look at how the votes went, that's how most of these were. They didn't vote for what they liked; they vote for what they didn't like.
Yeah.
Like,
Mario Brothers 3 lost to Breath of the Wild and only had 36%. That's depressing.
So that one is definitely due to fetuses.
Absolutely.
They're probably like, I didn't even know there was a third Mario Brothers game.
Hey, yeah, we're just Odyssey stand in this.
No, they probably think it's the sequel to New Super Mario Brothers on 3DS.
Dude, Animal Crossing got decimated by Titanfall 2 at the beginning.
Which honestly is also kind of surprising too.
But I think the most surprising thing is the highest rated video game of all time that's ever been created lost to Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Which one was that?
Half-Life 2. It's one of the highest rated video games of all time. It's so influential because of its actual like engine is used in so many games during the early 2000s, and it's like a very important part of gaming history just in general. It lost to Rise of the Tomb Raider in the first round.
Well, I think too, like, where is that?
Super Metroid losing to Apex Legends. That one's gotta hurt you, Mike.
I don't know Apex Legends that well. I know like that one's definitely like a hype thing. Like I know people like Super Metroid, so I mean that's fine. But that one I'm just kind of like I could see why people would do it. But I also am surprised they didn't put like Mario Galaxy on this list either.
Wasn't voted one of the best games of all time.
But it's one of the highest rated games of all time.
It doesn't matter. It had to be voted by the fetuses that were voting in this poll for it to be up here.
They had to vote the games onto the list, and then they had to vote them. Oh, that's even weirder. Which then I'm surprised that Mario Brothers 3 made it and not Galaxy.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people that started the votes and like got the games on this list were like the ones that then just got overshadowed by people that are like, get that shit out of here immediately afterwards.
Did Red Dead make the list?
Yes,
Okay.
it lost to San Andreas in the second round.
I see, because there's just so many things on the list. I guess it's just hard
Very
to
top
remember.
left, it fought Borderlands 2 and absolutely destroyed it.
Did any of the Bioshocks make it?
Yes, BioShock 1 did.
I
And
don't
it
think that one got
then
either.
it made it to the second tier, but then it was up against Minecraft.
Oh, Minecraft was gonna destroy that.
But it actually didn't though. Minecraft had 57% and BioShock had 43.
Wow.
So I'm actually very surprised by how close that was. I'm very sad about The Witcher 3 versus Doom. Doom
Mhm.
got 24%. That's it. Witcher 3 got 76.
And which Doom is it? Is it the new Doom or is it old
It
Doom?
just says Doom. So I think it just means Doom.
Whichever way you want it to be.
Yeah.
Ugh. I mean, honestly, for stuff like that, I almost feel like you're better off just doing it by series. But
Yeah, kinda. But then you have these other series where it's like, oh, is it Metroid Prime or is it Super Metroid? Is it 2D Metroid? Is it 3D Metroid? You know? So then you have to go into that kind of caveat as well. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 lost to Knights of the Old Republic in the first round.
that one I can kind of understand too.
No, I can get that. But like at the same time, it's like it's a weird matchup in general. Like
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is on this. That's a Switch game. A Switch game is one of the best games of all time.
I mean, it's one of the best-selling games of all time.
It is. It is. You're right. But my point is its matchup in the first round, which it lost, was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Like that's just not even fair, you know?
Yeah. Anyways, that is pretty nuts. Pretty nuts.